From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, a show about Star Wars, pop culture, and the ultimate adventure, life itself, and celebrating milestones. I'm Ken Napzok.
I'm Jenn Landa.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw.
And Joseph is back. I mean, he hasn't been gone forever. There was a couple shows back, but you have returned, Joseph, from on the live show earlier this week, and now properly here sitting down with us. Returned from premiering your film. I have this rule when I would take a vacation when I was back in my security boss days. I'd be like, you had one day to not ask me. Do not ask me anything about my vacation because I'm still on it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to inundate you with questions, but overall, you should address the experience. Yes?
Yes. The premiere went incredibly well. Talk about it on the news show as well, but it was it was really gratifying to have the film seen by lots of people in the place where it was made, and it was really nice to see the film through an audience's eyes again. So it was a great experience, and then I've been in Minneapolis for a couple days after the premiere. Mostly seeing friends and family and kind of a little bit for me like a tour of happy places in Minneapolis, because the film is very much set in Minneapolis, and had lots of fun conversations with people about, well, so you're gonna relax now? I'm like, kind of. I gotta sell the film, and also people are like, when you can get back to whatever it is you do for work normally, and it's like, I have a part-time day job and it's talking about Star Wars. I tell you this, listen to me. It's called ForceCenter. And so that's been really fun to be like, yes, I'm going to get back to my day job, which is a fantastic day job.
Blessed to have it indeed. Well, as always, we're very proud of you and behind you, and we know the work has just begun. Your first step into a larger world, and some ForceCenter friends are out there seeing the film as well, and I can report glowing reviews in the ForceCenter Discord. So
that's fantastic.
Before we dive into a little bit of a look back on 10 years of ForceCenter, I'll remind you that today's podcast is brought to you by our shop on Fourth Wall. Check out our merch store there. Pick up a t-shirt to help support the show and represent ForceCenter out in the galaxy. I added some items over the summer, more on the way. If you want them, just let us know. You can head to forcecenter-shop.fourthwall.com, forcecenter-shop.fourthwall.com. Help represent ForceCenter out in the wild. We're also having a lot of fun seeing people jump on the ForceCenter YouTube page. Subscribe over there as we try to reach our next goal of 10,500 subscribers. All right, Jenn, you and I talked about your path to ForceCenter last week.
Yes.
It seems as though Joseph and I were a long-standing team when you joined up, but we had just kind of met too. I want to start with you, Jenn. What was your initial thought of these two dudes talking Star Wars?
I was happy because you are two nice dudes. Let's make that clear. I grew up. Well, I remember Red Letter Media, and there was a lot of, even back then, kind of snarkiness around Star Wars. And I kind of fell into that too, but it was like, I can feel safe with you two talking about Star Wars. I know you're not going to quiz me unless it's for fun. And we pull out, what is it? Rusty Miller's. That's the only time I'll get quizzed by you guys. And you just really so supportive and encouraging. It's like, look, we're talking about Star Wars. It's not like, this is fun time. We can have fun. And I loved that approach and celebrating the fandom and the franchise.
Absolutely. Two nice dudes, Joseph. That was the name of the podcast we wanted to put out there. Then we said, well, what if we went with ForceCenter?
Yeah. We need to expand a little bit. Three nice humans.
Nice humans.
The subtext of ForceCenter. Yes.
Maybe we might get into the origin story of Joseph and I's friendship. I know we've told it before, but I kind of feel this is 10 years of putting things on the permanent record. But I want to flip it back to you, Joseph, because I had known of Jennifer, got her in a Jedi Alliance. It seemed like a good fit for the three of us. But you grew up like me in an era where there was the girls' toys and the boys' toys, and never should those meet, or the people who play with them. But here comes someone like Jennifer Landa, Maude Garrett, a lot of those people. What was your, it seems weird to ask, what was your reaction to Jenn Landa? But you showed up and she was new to you as well.
Yeah, I think for me, just in the kind of pop culture and nerd world, there was this sort of revelation that a lot of the gender BS around
Mhm.
science fiction in fandom had been uh, perpetrated not only by sexist dudes, but I think I kind of had a realization that, I think some women my age, our age, were badgered into kind of going along with it. Because I remember I had this really weird experience. There was a woman that I liked in eighth grade, and we had a project, like a group project, and you were supposed to go to each other's houses, and it was not just her, but a bunch of people, and we did the work in my bedroom, and at the time I had a big Star Trek poster up. And this girl that I really liked, and I was like, "Oh man," she looked at the Star Trek poster and was like, "You should really take that down if you ever want anything to happen in this bedroom with a woman." And it was just like,
Oh.
oh, knife to the heart. And then I don't know, maybe around 2010, 2011, I'm friends with her on Facebook, and she's a knitter and she likes all my wife's knitting comments. And then I see a post from the same woman talking about how she has always loved Star Trek and she's so good. J.J. Abrams is doing such a great job rebooting it, and it's true to the original that she loved. And it was this weird, like, she felt pressured to fit in that paradigm as well, and
Mm.
wasn't saying that as a mean thing to the nerd boy,
Mm.
but was maybe saying that as a, like, cautionary tale, is somebody,
Yeah.
so that's just like a personal prism that I look through, like how much changed, and got to meet so many people like Jennifer, very similar to my age, who's like, I've always loved this stuff, and there was all this BS surrounding it. um yeah, so I think
Mm.
by the time that I was entrenched in the nerd world, and it was becoming part of my career, I was just like elated to meet people like Jennifer, and to hear your life experience, and to hear how your love of genre and Star Wars manifested, and what were the challenges to get there, and what were the rewards of being there now.
Mm. Jen, at the
Thanks.
girl meetings in the 80s, was this the word? Tell them to take their posters down.
So funny. No, that's just so interesting. What is it? Doth protest too much, when someone like picks that and they just can't let it go. No, I mean there was a big Star Wars club at my high school, but I was always so intimidated and scared. And it's not that that was cool because it wasn't really seen as cool, but I thought it was cool because it was a group of guys. And so I just would like hang out in the doorway and kind of like listen to their conversations. But I dared not enter say anything because I didn't want to say something wrong. I didn't want to be quizzed. Because yeah, that was a big preconception that girls don't like
Mm.
Star Wars. Even though, I mean, you look at all the footage from 1977 and wide variety of people, young, older, like
Yeah.
men, women, kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that social media story of the woman who went back to see it a million times so she could make the absolute screen accurate Rebel pilot outfit.
That's right.
And even the discourse this week, I have no idea if the person who posted about women not liking Star Trek was just saying that as rage bait. It was in some article, but like,
Oh, yeah.
people in social media, like, reminding, conventions in fan fiction were
Mm.
started by women.
Mm.
So yeah, it is
Mm.
a weird desire to, I think, want to silo it off by gender.
Yeah, and a lot to get to on your journey to California, literally, Joseph, which was covered a long time ago on a Napzok Files episode where you and I sat at my bar. But Jen, this is where I love these conversations kind of go everywhere. It's part of the Force Center makeup. What you're describing of like, hey, I'd like to be a part of the Star Wars Club. I'm going to hang back here. Then there's all these kind of obstacles that are put in front of you, sometimes very intentionally. It makes me think of this idea of like, well, she can hang with the boys, and how inherently just sexist that is. That you have to somehow adapt. I get the overall thought, I understand it. I don't think it's always said maliciously, but this is kind of, to me, what a lot of the 80s was about, that if you wanted to join the Star Wars Club, you had to maybe sacrifice something about yourself and change something about yourself other than just being yourself. Am I going too far in saying that you might have felt that, or is that part of it?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think a lot of this stems from neurodivergence. Like, I realize now that I just kind of had not found my people. I was surrounded by a lot of neurotypical people, and when you dive into, the minutia, the way I love to about creatures specifically, like that's my obsession, right? I had a conversation with a dad. I was wearing a Furby costume a couple days ago, and a lot of people didn't know what it was, and this dad was like, Furby, I have 10 of them and I've rewired them and I've skinned them and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, this is fantastic. I live in Los Angeles where I'm going to meet a like-minded Furby person who's like, he's literally said that he created like a symphony of Furbies. I was like, this is fantastic. And that's really what, for me, like, online Star Wars community was finding a bunch of like-minded, whether they're neurotypical or neurodivergent, but like people that like to dive into the minutia. You guys who like to really like dissect, like the themes and the philosophies and what do these characters really mean, right? What do they say about humanity? It's not just like, lightsabers, right?
Can be. I like that.
A little of both. A little of both. Yeah.
It can be teddy bears with sticks. Yes, absolutely. Right. So that's, I don't know where I went with this. There's my brain. I'm going all over.
I say this with giving you all credit for who you are, Jen. When I first heard you said I was dressed as a Furby, I forgot it was Halloween. I just thought maybe you were like, I went to pick up the kids Friday and dressed as a Furby.
I would.
I only know that skinning Furbies is a normal thing for Furby fans to do because of you, Jennifer. So it's such a great thing. Yeah, I was talking to another parent, and they skin Furbies too. It's such a great.
It's so weird.
It's a great place to come together.
You can hear them scream.
If that was in high
symphony
school.
By skinning Furbies.
But can you imagine saying stuff like that in high school? I mean, that's like, no, we do you because you want to fit in. So very, very different time.
It was a very different time, and it wasn't just the gender silo; it was also the nerd silo. That even though most people like Star Wars, that you still weren't too vocal about it when I was in high school, and it was a secret handshake kind of thing. Yeah.
Looking back when we're like, you felt, and we all felt it, and it's still very prevalent, I'm sure. But like the idea of like you were the only kid on the playground that knew what a Y-wing was, and it's like, well, these are also at the times the most popular movies ever, so there had to be some fans out there.
Right.
The math wasn't mathin', but as a kid, you're just like, I'm the only one.
Right.
You mentioned the past, Joseph. You obviously, as we know, came up in the Minnesota comedy system, which is an unofficial thing, but it's one that's always carried this wonderful reputation. I've always talked about how just Minnesota as a whole has this amazing comedy scene, music scene, and wrestling scene. Like it just all three sectors has a great reputation. But how did you've talked about it before, and you've put on shows and sketches and performances that were based around your love of this stuff. But how well was it received coming on up through the ranks?
It was a slow destruction of the silo of nerd stuff being in a silo, because when I started doing theater and comedy, it was like, yeah, maybe you can get away with a passing Mark Hamill joke because everybody knew who Mark Hamill was, but there was no thought of like, oh, we will do, a Star Wars show or a Star Wars sketch. And then we started, my brother and I and a bunch of our friends started doing shows at this convention in Minneapolis that started in 1999 called Convergence. And the allure of that was, hey, all of the sketches and jokes that you would never make out of fear that the audience wouldn't get them. And if they did, they would be like, nerds, get out of theater, get out of comedy. The allure was, you got a half an hour and you can make all those jokes. Like one of the sketches I did was like the Darth Vader School of Sign Language, where, if he pointed, that meant everything. And if he made a fist, that meant join me. And those are the only two bits of sign language Darth Vader knew. Like that kind of thing that was like, seems quite normal now. But at the time, it was like, yeah, you couldn't do that for a normal audience, because a normal audience isn't like, I've watched the original trilogy 600 times and I've memorized every hand gesture of Darth Vader and I understand them in context. So basically, for many years, it was like theater and comedy, and then shows at convergence. And then when the general sort of genre nerd geek revolution happened, that's when things really opened up, and I was able to start to more of the success I had came from doing nerd stuff, like being invited to do Jonathan Colton's Joko Cruise, which was all people at that time who were sort of a nerd or nerd adjacent. Jonathan Colton's got great success from doing songs about being a coder by day, and then he became very popular. And John Hodgman was a big thing on that, and Will Wheaton, and all these people who were sort of luminaries of the emerging geek world. And then suddenly my kind of two careers, the silo broke down, and now it was almost more successful to talk about Star Wars. And that was some of what caused me to move to LA. So by the time I was coming to LA, it was sort of like the world has changed, and this is what people want.
Yeah, no, and it came with, there was a great freedom with that, maybe even responsibility we learned later. But yeah, as we talked about last week, Jen, like suddenly it was like everything that you felt held you back or were mocked for had a certain kind of currency to it. Dare I say clout, which is dangerous.
It did. I certainly had clout, like when you go to the San Diego Comic-Con parties, right? It's like, it's amazing how suddenly there was a hierarchy that was built. It felt like
a new power structure. A new power structure emerged. Yeah.
What kind of nerd are you? Are you a famous nerd? Are you like a behind the scenes nerd who writes? Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I know I've mentioned it before, but yeah, part of that, I started going to San Diego Comic-Con, became friends with Bonnie Burton. So I went to Bonnie's panel, and that was, I didn't meet Jennifer Landa. I got to see her in her Death Star dress from afar in that fashion show. And yeah, only realized years later, like, oh crap. I already knew Jennifer Landa.
All thanks to Bonnie. Bonnie is the best. And Bonnie's the one that took that photo of me in the Death Star costume. And that was the photo that went viral. Yeah, I love Bonnie.
We do love Bonnie, an early guest on ForceCenter on your Jedi Beat episode on the holiday special. So Joseph and I meet. Jen, are you know the lore, right, of how we met?
Wait,
you know?
No, I don't think I remember. I'm sure I've heard it, but I can't remember.
We'll put
Tell
it
it again.
Record. It was 2014. I love sounding like an old man trying to remember the days of yesteryear. 2014, my friend Matt Key, my friend Granny Imahara were on Audrey Kern's panel at LA Comic-Con. I was like, I'm going to go support the friends. And Joseph's on there. And I start the story from this point of view because I didn't know him. And he's really funny up top. And as a comic, it's not even like jealousy or competitive nature. It's just this, you get this, who the hell's this guy? You get... what's going on here? And that could lead to a lot of it's comedy's silly. The comedy world could be silly. Joseph was too funny and too insightful, and then we all had beers afterwards. And I just remember thinking, there's no guard rails that need to go up. This is a person I want to know and be friends with and talk more Star Wars with. And so it begins. It begins, Jen, over a beer in a bar.
I love it. Always a good place to meet.
I love it.
Very, very fond memories of that. And I think about the whole chain of events. I was doing theater and comedy in Minneapolis, and eventually Bill Corbett, who is now a dear friend and I've done many things with. I had done a couple like little things with him. He'd been a guest on shows, but he reached out and was like, hey, do you want to do a show together sometime, maybe at San Francisco Sketch Fest? So we wrote this 2-person show where he was a kind of an angry screenwriter giving a how to write screenplays lesson. And a part of his speech was he created a character live. And I, came out and played this blank slate that was the character. And then as he added more things, they didn't make sense. And as I developed, the character developed, they pushed back on their creator. And it was kind of a Frankenstein's monsters riff. So we had fun doing that. Bill did a reading of it at Dragon Con. A wonderful person named Megan, who ended up being involved in the Star Cruiser, playing the captain, saw Bill's reading at Dragon Con and was like, who wrote this? I'm going to reach out to him on Facebook and see if we can do it. And it's like, sure, go ahead. And Megan and her friends did that show in the Fringe Festival in Orlando. And then it was like, hey, I have friends in LA I know you don't live in LA, but you should meet these people. And I was like, sure, okay. And those people were Audrey Kearns and her husband, Brian Bradley, who I met even before I decided to move to LA. And then I moved here and became good friends with Audrey and Brian. And Audrey started asking me to do all of these panels. So it's like all of these lines of connection between theater and comedy, but also the nerd world and people who love nerd stuff, is what led me to be on that panel to meet Ken and most of the other humans I know in Los Angeles.
Yeah. All right there. What was it like, Joseph, to come out here again? The nerd bubble was bubbling, you know, even by 3, 4, 5 years by the time maybe you get out here. You would, we've talked before, you've been on Jackie Cation's podcast, one of the best stand-up comics ever, who's still just slaying shows out here in LA a lot. You defended the prequels, which is kind of one of the things I was like, come on, Jedi Alliance. But your first go around was Marvel Movie News, and just what was your perspective on this crazy nerd podcast world, not centered here, but definitely growing fast here? And what did that feel like being a kid who had to hide his love of Star Wars at times?
Yeah, it was both great and kind of a shock to the system, because by the time I got out here, the sort of alternative comedy nerd stand-up comedy bubble was bursting a little bit, which was a bummer. But so then it's like, okay, I really want to make this comedy work, and then, you know, find an agent for writing and do all these other things. But I'm really going to pursue this stand-up. And the stand-up was it was really hard and slow to pursue. But it's like, okay, well, I'm meeting all these cool people who love talking about movies and television shows. And it's weird to me. Why would anyone want to listen to me talk about movies and television shows? Like, I'm coming from the background of like, you must write a play, think about it, perform it, and then you'll get reviews in like lots of layers of art between me and an audience. And you must create that. And the idea of just like, you just want to hear why I like Empire Strikes Back? Okay. So it was a surprise to me. And then going on Matthew's show first was also a good shock to the system, because I got a detail wrong about the superhero, the Vision, because it was just like a thing I remembered from when I was a kid that I was only half right about. And I had a great time. And then I went and looked at the comments, and like half the comments were like, who the bleep is this asshole claiming Vision has this ability? And so then I was like, okay, right. Okay. I'm stepping into a new world and I don't know the rules. And it's like, I'm going on Ken's Star Wars show. I feel quite safe that I'm not going to get any details wrong there. And still, I try to check myself after that. But it was just a wonderful surprise, the kind of community that can be built by talking about things that you love. And I do think this is a kind of performance, because my mind is on, you know, what I want to say, what other people are thinking. My mind is aware of what the audience needs are. So it is a kind of performance, but it's so stripped down and it's so honest. And it's just been kind of amazing to have this become such a big part of my life.
Yeah, and it happened fast. You know, we go into Bring On Jedi Alliance a couple times. You're key in helping some of those segments come to life over there. Key in changing my perspectives on the prequels very early on. I'll never forget. And Jen, I know you have. We all have similar kind of journeys forward with the prequels, but you and I think, arrived at it a little bit later. Do you have a moment? And I'll answer mine first, so you're not completely on the spot. Do you have a moment of anything Joseph said, or that was said on the show, that had a eureka kind of moment of oh, I've looked at things wrong? Because for me, it was just the simple thing of Joseph suggesting that, well, the Trade Federation blocking Naboo, let's just say Amazon formed an army and blocked Delaware. That'd be pretty important and interesting. And I just remember hearing that and thinking, holy bleep, everything my perspective of that film is completely changed now. I just never had stopped to look past the jokes, look past the kind of the pat criticism, look past the pizza rolls of it all. At what was actually in the story.
Oh my gosh.
And how interesting that made everything to me at that moment. Do you recall any moments that were brought to the table that changed you?
Yeah, there's a reason why people call you the professor, Joseph, because it's like, I mean, really the professor of the prequels, because for me, I had such a wall built up. And one of the things that my professors have done is they take this material, which seems dense and impossible to go through, but they help you make sense of it. Why does this mean anything? Why do we care? Why is this relevant? How does this connect to other things that we know? And so, like, literally, it took years. I took years of you kind of just always very patiently, or excitedly talking about the prequels, and Ken too. And so then you both, I think by the time we were recording in Joseph's place, suddenly now both of you guys were real prequelists, and your joy and your love for it made me go, all right, I'll go back and I'll watch one of the ones I really disliked, which was, I think it was the Attack of the Clones. And I watched it and I was like, wait, what? This is actually good. I really enjoy this. It's like one of my favorites now. I'd always said, oh, Revenge of the Sith, right? But it was years of you guys just like not trying to force it down my throat, not name calling me, not name calling other people who didn't like it, always being truly respectful and just being like, yeah, here's the things that I like. If you don't like it, it's okay. We can all like different things, right? So I grew as a person. Thank you. My heart grew like the Grinch.
Much appreciated. And yeah, I mean, I got so much early on from both of you. Jennifer, your love of the Ewoks, made me take my walls down about the Ewoks, because like I wasn't sure when I was a kid about them. And then the people my exact specific age and above hate Ewoks, or that was the agreed upon truth, period. The way our generation can really form agreed upon truths. And so like, yeah, I like this scene, I like that scene, but every time I watch Return of the Jedi, it's like, oh, the Jabba scene is great. Everything with the Emperor is great. And like, now the sadness of the Ewoks come, and they should have been Wookiees and all that. And the way that you love them, really just kind of gave me permission to go like, yeah, that's always what George Lucas intended, and he changed it from the Wookiees for a reason, and it is much better this way. Down to the last time I saw it in the theater, and they're singing their happy little song while they're getting ready to burn Han alive. Like, why did I think this was cute?
Yeah,
I mean, it's cute.
What's cute about singing a happy little work song when you're gonna burn a sentient being to death and ritually eat them while dancing? Why did I think that was cute? That and your love of Jabba's palace and explaining, how you saw yourself in those creatures, and just so opened up to me. Like, this is fun to see Star Wars from other people's perspectives, and maybe it becomes your perspective too. But even if it doesn't, it's so much fun to go, oh wow, of course I would never have thought why a 16-year-old who saw The Force Awakens for the first time saw it in that way that I couldn't imagine. But now I know that, and now I get to add that to my way of seeing things. It's a gift, not a curse. And too many of us have been like, I must convince everybody that I am correct, instead of the gift of seeing it from a different perspective.
That's the key to a lot of what we do here, and a lot of what kind of emerged with the show. I want to go back to some of those early moments, even to the Jedi Alliance stuff, which is key. And I love doing that show with Maud, but it's key to the Force Center Genesis, because for me, it was a place to talk about Star Wars in a way I wanted to, and some of the other shows I would later get involved with, which I appreciated the platform, appreciated a lot of the attention at the time it brought me, but it wasn't necessarily the way I wanted to talk about Star Wars. So a lot of it's key, but you, Joseph, you clearly affected Jennifer and I in our view of the prequels. But I want to talk about not your journey from 1999 to 2014-ish. I want to talk about when you not just get out here to LA, but when you're like, now on shows talking about something that you love, that is met with cynicism, that is met with snark and smirks. And even when you come on Jedi Alliance, you're like, I'd like to talk about my love of the prequels. It was kind of like, oh, that's a cute debate. Let's do that. And then I show up with a switchblade, and you're like, here's a tank full of themes and what the art said. It changed me, like I said. But how did it feel? Kind of stepping out into the public in a way of going, yeah, no, those things we all my generation said hate, I like, and now I'm saying it publicly on a podcast. That had to feel a little different than at a bar in Minneapolis.
Yeah, I mean, it felt really good, because it felt like I had finally fully allowed myself to enjoy the prequels, and
Mm.
this I had always enjoyed them. There are always parts that I liked, and there are always parts that I defended, but I agreed with a lot of the criticisms, and to this day I still agree with some of the criticisms. I just see
Right.
the parts that I love as well and see the big picture. And yeah,
Right.
two things happened. I watched the Clone Wars and was just like blown away, and like it reignited my love with Star Wars just like so very deeply in 2014. It was like, I love these characters. I love this world. That's what I've always gravitated toward in the prequels. And then, reading the book, How Star Wars Conquered the Universe, and that really lays out how much this is what George always intended.
Mm. Mm.
And as an artist, feeling that like, oh wow, we brought all these expectations and foisted them on him, and he was a true artist and made what he wanted to make. Just it made me love them so much that I think I felt sort of fiery and passionate about them. And entering this new world of, this is something that people want, is discussions about the pop culture in stories they love. It felt freeing because it was different than the worlds I was used to. I was used to theater, and I knew all the expectations of theater. And I was used to stand up and knew sort of like, these are the kind of jokes, if you make them, people will call you hack. Like, I knew all the like ways that theater and comedy would judge you and put you in a box. And stepping into that world of doing the Jedi Alliance show with you, Ken, it was sort of like, this is a brand new world, and I learned a little bit about it, to be super respectful about getting details right. And if you aren't sure, just go ahead and say that. But beyond that, it was sort of like, this is brand new territory, and I can be who I want to be, and I'm going to be honest about what I like. And that was really, really freeing. The other thing I remember about that first show was you're such a good broadcaster, Ken. There's there are many skill sets that you have, and skill sets that I think we share. I was used to being like an MC for live shows. That's different than being a broadcaster. And I don't know if you remember this. That first show, it just is pretty much always, I was going long because you'd ask me one question about the prequels. And I blah, 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 blah. Like, you're like, name one thing that you really like about it. It's like, I wrote down 7. Here we go. And I remember you like looking at the person doing the tech, and I think you said on air, like, we're running a little long, but we're having a great time, so we're going to keep going. And it's like,
I don't.
But you're always so good at keeping things on the rails. And many times over the years on ForceCenter, I would take 3 paragraphs to say something, and then you'd condense it down into this bite-size, holdable idea. All of those things I said on that first episode of Defending the Prequels, and in many, many ForceCenter discussion since, you turned into the word prequelist. And now then it was something that people could put on a t-shirt and wear and hold. And I think I still talk longer than I should. But I learned a lot about being a broadcaster from you, in that skill set has applied to all sorts of other things that I get to do as well.
Good night and good luck, everybody. I mean, I'm actually hopefully in 2026 starting a little podcasting kind of coaching kind of side business. Nice. I'm trying to look on that.
Yes.
And it just boils down to faster, more intense. Right? George was not wrong. We make fun of him, but George was not wrong. And I appreciate it. But it was also, it's some of the greatest moments, I think, in ForceCenter's history of either of you, because both of many times have said things that not just become enlightening to me personally, but I have these moments of, you didn't just unlock something in a Star Wars film. You unlocked something in my heart. Like you just made me understand something about myself, which now is then from your insights now is reflected back on this franchise I love. That was so key from either the early days, including Jenn. You and the love of the Ewoks become synonymous, and maybe you sometimes feel like you're in a Star Wars bucket. Like, I'm not just the Ewok girl, I'm also the Jabba girl. But that stuff was key to my personal development, and that's why I love. We're taking some time to look back on the early days of ForceCenter, because it's not just a 10 years of podcasting; it's 10 years of growth and change through the discussion of Star Wars. So a lot of what you're talking about is there. anyways, Jen, thoughts on that and thoughts on being the Ewok girl?
No, I'm going to go back to praising you because here's what I don't think people really understand, like the skill set, the talent that you have to be able, sure, there's a lot of, broadcasters, whatever, but to also have the knowledge of Star Wars and to be able to keep it on track. One of the most terrifying things as a guest is when you go on a show and the hosts don't really know what they're doing. And I've had that happen, and it creates a lot of anxiety in me because I'm like, I don't feel safe. I don't know where this is going. But boy, when you're with a professional, where when I had the chance to work with TCM and I was chatting with one of their hosts, and it's like, oh, it's like I can relax and I can be myself. You bring out the best in people because we can trust you're going to keep us on track. You're going to keep this truck running. I don't know. You know what I'm saying, but it's just
Star Cruiser running.
Yeah, but it's such a special skill that I think, and you do it so effortlessly. I don't think people realize like how masterful you are at it. So thank you.
Thank you. I got bad news for you both. I'm being replaced by an influencer next week.
Don't get me started on that.
They're gonna hold this tiny microphone up here, which I do now too in some videos because it unfortunately gets better sound. I think, by the way, I've unlocked because I get so mad when I see people holding lav mics in their hand. Then I started shooting videos in my backyard with lav mics, and I'm like, it's not picking anything up. I think the quality of lav mics, and I love Rode products, I think they're intentionally bad to force influencers up here. Side conspiracy theory. Anyways, no, thank y'all. The influencer sliding in next week. No, and it's always been key to what we do, and I want to end here with a little bit of the early days of the show. I approach this as a broadcast. Joseph, you mentioned it. You see this as a sort of performance. Jen, I think you would agree with that as well. I'll let you answer that there, of course, for yourself. But I think we are all actors. We are all artists and performers, and it's sometimes tough for me in this modern world where people do want that. I've stopped being a little bit trying to lower the bitterness level when I just see a podcast of people just shooting the shit and it blows up, and I'm like, what's there for people? And it is they feel it's more authentic. And you've touched upon that too, Joseph Bass. We all know the radio band, which I am every Saturday morning in Pennsylvania. I am the Oldies radio guy in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, and I don't say anything of importance. I just say, here's the Guess Who. Like, I understand it's inauthentic, but I think that's been key to ForceCenter. And Jen, you see this kind of as a performance as well, which doesn't mean it's fake or lacks authenticity. It just means we have a purpose when we're here.
There's a level of professionalism that I think we all bring. But I mean, it's because we are in the business and we are used to like showing up and knowing what you're going to talk about and being aware of each other and our audience. And like, I mean, if I were just chatting to you guys like at home, I'm so distracted. I'm like doing something else. I'm typing on my computer, right? I'm eating a sandwich. So there's a level of decorum here that we have. And I recognize like I'm on camera and I can't be doing my usual tics, right? I got to hold it together, keep my face still.
You can. That's this fake cigarette that I've picked up because it's a prop cigarette that I had for a character that I used to do on my podcast. And now it's become my ADHD fidget thing. And so now a lot of people don't know me, just like, is that dude holding a fake? I've never even smoked a cigarette in my life because Jesus told me not to, Jen. So
yes. That's so funny. And I'm looking.
Jesus didn't send me that memo, unfortunately.
Yeah, but Joseph, you had to smoke at one point. You can't be a playwright without taking a drag at a diner. I'm convinced of that.
Yes, not anymore. Not for a long time, but there was a time. Yes.
Final section here, and thank you all for indulging us. We all also come from kind of the generation of don't give ourselves credit. We'll just be latchkey kids going home by ourselves. But it's I love looking back. But one of the key things early on, we were going to have our individual kind of shows. Maybe come together every couple weeks for a main show, and it turned into us doing this regularly. But one of the key things early on that we're currently celebrating on the podcast feed is Databank Brawl, Joseph. And someone the other day, a lot of people were leaving very nice comments on our interview last week, Jen, And some people were just celebrating some of the early shows, what it brought. But Databank Brawl was called kind of the soul of the show in a way. And it kind of married the knowledge, the celebration, and our performances and humor, especially with the early guests, Matt Belknap and Mike Black and Audrey Kearns and Emma Fife and Hector Navarro, those kind of folks. But I wanted to talk to you and end kind of, Joseph, as we discuss this early chapter of ForceCenter. You bringing Databank Brawl to the feed.
Yeah, because you had the idea of kind of doing everybody. We all had our show, and then we would kind of do the news show. And at first, we were doing the news show every 2 weeks, and then it was just it's a quick side thing. Like, one of the beautiful things about ForceCenter is it has always just worked. Like, I have definitely had successes in other things I've done, but ForceCenter has been one of the most, like, we make it, and then people like it, and not that we don't work hard on it, but it's always been it works. So you put on the gas and started. I told one of my friends this weekend, was like, yeah, we're a little slower right now, but we usually do 2 to 3 shows a week. And she was like, oh, so you can bank them and don't have to work for a couple weeks. Like, no, every week, 2 to sometimes 4 shows. So put our foot on the gas. But with Databank Brawl, I really did think about, like, what I wanted to celebrate, both the kind of obsessive knowledge of the minutia and how much joy that Star Wars fans get from knowing what kind of blaster this character has, and you don't only know it by reading the back of an action figure or that kind of thing. And I wanted to have, like, a sense of comedy and a sense of fun about it. And I think Databank Brawl did a really good job of, and it ended up merging, half the episode is talking about the characters and what we thought of them. And is Rick Ollier a dumb character? Is he a fun, dumb character? What is his value? And then, C.O. Bibble and celebrating those weirdos, and then having a gonk droid walk on his face out of just comedy. And and it became just an improv show of, like, we did not discuss what was going to happen. And it was just back and forth storytelling, improv, and a lot of fun.
Absolutely, a lot of fun. I've in putting together the episodes and releasing them every Sunday in the podcast feed, little advertisement. I try to, on most cases, I think 98% of the time, drop the commercials right at the point where you say, then let's fight. And I've gotten so good at finding, just looking at the waveform, I think it's right here. But what is fascinating, what emerged is exactly what you're talking about. The early episodes, it's like 8 minutes, 9 minutes, and that's the amount of time we spend on intros. Here's the characters, and here's what they mean to us. The rest is the fight. It starts stretching out to 10 to 15 to 16 to 18 minutes, which is just wonderful, because that's the point. And it was so fun. And I know a lot of people ask, will we ever do it again? Possibly, but it's definitely, because it's improv, definitely easier when you're seeing the whites of everyone else's eyes on that podcast field of play there. So forever thankful of it there. Jenn, final thoughts. I'd leave it to you if you have any question to tie it all up, as putting the pressure on you here. Do you feel safe? Do you still feel safe?
Do I still feel safe? Yes.
Breaking news: Jennifer Landa ends the show with one question. Sports and weather after this.
10 effing years. That is incredible. To show up, and you guys showing up, because I've had stuff that's happened, life stuff, and it's like knowing that
kids.
Kids
are something that happens. Yeah, kids.
Life stuff.
Little stuff. Yeah, but it's literally, this is my Cheers, and I grew up loving Cheers and wondering, what must that be like? Is that what it is to be an adult? Is you find your bar and you go? And I didn't, the idea of drinking, like, they didn't even think about it, but it's like finding your people and hanging out week after week. This is it. This is my Cheers, where I can come and share anything I want, and you guys aren't going to judge. You may laugh or you may go, what? But I know that this is a safe place, and it's a safe place for anybody that joins us and listens to us, and that's a wonderful, wonderful thing in this day and age.
Mm-hmm. That is a wonderful way to wrap up this discussion. Thank you both, but also especially thank you and the audience for letting us have these discussions, being supportive. And what I love seeing too, and what is a great reminder, is a lot of people commented on last week's episode or have commented this month about 10 years, including those who reminded me I missed the exact date of the first broadcast, October 17th. I was live that day and totally forgot last Friday. But a lot of people saying, I jumped on 2 years ago. I jumped on 4 years ago. I jumped on after Last Jedi. I've been here since the beginning. That's great, and it means a lot. And we really, really do appreciate all of you there. Mm-hmm. All right. That's it. Shall we do another 10?
Yes. It's like another 10 minutes or 10 years. Yes. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. I once said to myself, I can't be talking about Star Wars when I'm 50. I don't know if I can do it when I'm 60, but I don't want to proclaim that because I just might be doing it. There you go. That is it for this look back here. We thank you all for joining for that. We're putting together a kind of big 10th anniversary live stream, probably going to be in early November because of just life schedules as well. Hopefully trying to get some others involved. I keep publicly putting pressure on Alex and Molly to join because they celebrated 10 years back in January. Wow. And I don't think enough trumpets were blared over them and what they have done for the community. So maybe we can do it together. But stay tuned for that. You can find us links down below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, hey, subscribe, like, hype the video, do all those wonderful things. You can even leave a super thanks if you'd like later on. Then support us on Patreon if you'd like at patreon.com/ForceCenter. Me at Ken Napzok. I go live 3 times a week with my show, The Blathering Live. It's a fun community-based radio show for modern age, so come hang out with us there. Jen, I know you got school studies more than content creation, but I know you're out there doing things.
Yeah, maybe I'll get back to it during Thanksgiving. You can find me on all the social media sites at Jennifer Landa.
Joseph, an entire legion of ForceCenter friends was behind you and continues to be behind you on your film, Dead Media, as it moves forward into its more exciting phase, even than just getting there, getting seen by the world. I know you got a lot of work to do, but where can they continue to support and get more information on your work?
Yeah, you can follow me on all the social media at Joseph Scrimshaw, Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook. I'm posting on Threads because I have to. And sometimes I made a new TikTok to advertise the premiere. Anyway, you can also go to my website, josephscrimshaw.com. And we've got a mailing list set up if you want to be updated about what's going on with Dead Media. We basically had the premiere in Minneapolis is a celebration of finishing the film. And now the real work, the real adventure of getting it booked in more theaters, getting it available on streaming, eventually making physical media versions of it. All that stuff is a brand new adventure that I need to figure out. So the mailing list is a way to keep up with what's happening with it. If you're interested, those links are on my social media and they'll be up on my website soon.
There you go. All right. That is it. You could see us here next week and for the next decade or so here on ForceCenter.